Thank you for definitely joining Behind the Business. And you are rolling with Jones. And we have no better other than Miss Gabs, aka Press Play Jones.
Hey,
Long time overdue for this conversation, for
I
sure.
know, I know,
Yeah.
I know. It's definitely is an overdue conversation. So I'm
Uh,
excited that we're able to come together to make it happen tonight.
no, for sure. And there's going to be a lot more of these coming up because I think this conversation is definitely going to unravel to a lot of interesting topics. So for anybody that's listening, you should be entertained or you should get educated. So one thing we was definitely talking about earlier, what was it, yesterday or something like that?
Hmm.
Talking about the way that business grow. And we had a wonderful example of Miss Pinky Cole herself. And if for the
Hmm.
ones that don't know who that is, she is the founder and CEO of Slutty Vegan.
Hmm.
And she was on Earn Your Leisure and she was being interviewed by them about her becoming the CEO for the second time. What does that mean? What did that mean, Talia? What did that mean?
Oh well, apparently she did very well, very successful for a number of years, and like most businesses, hit a wall. And from her interview, apparently she lost her business after um, getting a huge investment from some billionaires, one of them that I know. And I think they gave her 25 million, which gave her a valuation of 100 million. And her plan apparently was to grow rapidly and go from 0 to 100 real quick.
Real
No
quick.
pun intended. So,
Crazy.
and not to say it couldn't happen, but sometimes you gotta grow a little slower, especially the restaurant industry is very hard. Me coming from the restaurant industry, knowing it firsthand and hitting similar snags that she hit, but not on that massive scale, you know. So basically, she became a CEO again. She had acquired a lot of debt, and in order to rid herself of some of this debt, apparently she didn't want to use the word bankruptcy. So it's not a bankruptcy, it's a restructure. But when you restructure, it kicks you out of your position and you are no longer the owner. So during this time, a lot of people lose their businesses. And I guess she had the opportunity to buy it back. She sold properties that she owned and several other things. And she apparently bought it back and became CEO again.
I mean, and one shout out to her for making that decision
Hey
because
Madison, hey Every, sorry.
oh,
I
sorry.
want to say hi. We're on YouTube live over here too, people. So I just don't want to ignore everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
my bad about that. What's up, everybody over there?
we're talking about Arif is asking, what are we talking about? We're talking about currently the situation that Pinky Cole is going through
Yeah.
and how it relates to other businesses, how it relates to my business, Good Ass Burgers, which we are similar to what she does. We are a vegan burger restaurant. And yeah, so we just want to discuss what has happened in recent media.
And matter of fact, before we even go further, because I think it's a great opening of discussion of what we just sit here and open the door with. But for the ones that don't know who we are, right? We're going to introduce who we are right now
Okay.
and why we are in the position to talk about what we're talking about right now. So if you want to sit here and go first and let them know who you are and tell them some of your accolades.
Well, I wasn't really prepared for that, but my name is Talia Jones. I am the co-owner and head of marketing for Good Ass Burgers. I also own a nonprofit called You Got a Friend in Me, and I'm also an author because this is something I always wanted to do, which is a poetry book called Private Parts. And I have other accolades, but I feel like I could go on and on. So I'm not gonna bore you guys with everything, but that's the gist of it. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can find me at Press Play Jones is my personal page, and the business page is Good Ass Burgers, and that's AS, not the other part.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And for the ones that don't know who I am, my name is Thurmon Jones, aka Rolling with Jones, and I am the founder and CEO of Venue to Go. Venue to Go is an online platform that allows brick and mortar businesses to be able to get more foot traffic and create another stream of income by booking out their spaces. And we don't allow event spaces. So that's who I am, and I'm also the author of the fastest way to start your business. So if you're interested about starting a business in 2025, which is probably the best time you can ever do it, go to ebookforbusiness.com and you'll be able to get that book. And definitely you won't go the longest way like I did. You go through the fastest way because I put all the
Yeah.
information that took me a long time. But that's why we deserve to sit here and talk about that. I had the pleasure to work with a lot of different businesses, restaurants, coffee shop, retail, churches. The list goes on because of the industry that I'm in. So it's pretty interesting to hear what has happened along the line. And shout out to Pinky for being transparent as she is, because she didn't have to do this. I think this is actually a learning moment for everybody that's listening, and also to give us some point of views of what we can do or what you can do or how we see what wrong or different things that you could do to make it.
Yeah.
So I would start off and kind of piggybacking off of what you was talking about. Yeah, I thought that
Mhm.
was pretty interesting to hear what happened. The first thing that came to mind for me, I think about having a good process and a good system. The one thing about growing fast, like I remember doing the beta test for Venue to Go, and it wasn't like crazy fast because we didn't push it. We literally had control. We only wanted a certain amount of businesses on there, but I could tell having people from Texas creating profiles and people that you don't know and things happening. And then you got to ask yourself like, how do you how do you transition the money? How do you transfer the money? What happens when somebody want to do? I remember somebody tried to refund their money after they did an event. After
How
they
they
did
wait.
crazy
How did they try to
with
refund their
Stripe.
money
So
after the transaction took
after the
place?
transaction went through, they tried to go on Stripe and refund their money. Stripe notified me. I was like, no. They sent me their ID. This is all I took screenshots of the whole process. So and that went out the window and they wasn't able to do it. And I was able to put them on a ban for not going on Venue to Go again. But those are some of the things that you just don't think about. And imagine if a whole bunch of that started to happen. The question that you got to ask yourself, is there a good process in place? Is there a good system in place? And every time I think about system, my analogy of systems is save yourself some time, energy, and money. And the one thing I felt like that probably didn't happen based on the conversation, there wasn't a good system in place. It sounded like the operation was like 100 miles and running, right? Marketing was she was in front of everybody, making sure everybody knew the brand. So marketing and brand was huge, but the business itself wasn't in the place to scale like it did. Because also being in the position now I'm in, I was able to sit here and do a lot of KPIs and NPRs and data analytics and understand looking at your numbers and how do you make sure that that is being articulated across the system. And you know, and when you have 14 stores, what all of those stores are doing. What's the profit and loss statements? Do you know how much money those stores are making? How can you take some of that energy from the other stores and put it into the other ones that need the focus? It felt like it got away from her, right? It felt like it got away from her, and to a point where she was like, when she realized it, it was too far. It was too far along.
That's that's possible. And I do think the operations and what system she had in place did fail itself, because at one point, she had restaurants growing. Oh, Pinky's doing this. Oh, she got this restaurant here, this restaurant there. Oh, she just opened a bar vegan. It was a bunch of like stuff moving very, very, very fast. And I'm not going to say she didn't know what her profits were, or what wasn't running well, or what locations weren't doing well. In my personal opinion, and from previous experience, know that, okay, especially when you're a creative, because I could tell she's a creative, right? Because she likes to be in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
She did some kind of like podcast or whatever kind of show where she was trying to help entrepreneurs. Like, she's a creative.
Right.
And sometimes creatives think they can do more than what they can do without handling the bottom line. And I mean, for me and Mr. Gabs are creatives, and he's more so of a creative than I. And even us, it's like having a business. There are models and there are examples of how your operations should go. But listening to the guy you told me to listen to the other day,
Zero
the
to,
zero to
1.
one.
Yeah.
And he was just like, there is no perfect system. Like, you gotta learn as you go. There's no like blueprint of what yours should be like. Right. So you have it's all a learning process. You can get a master's degree, a doctorate, or whatever. Somebody could give you all the advice in the world, but Chick-fil-A system is totally different from Burger King system, from McDonald's system. They're all different systems. Even though it might have the same base, they had to figure out what formula works for them, right? So with that being said,
Peter Thiel.
Yes. Peter Thiel, right? Okay. Yeah. He made some great points. So if you have time, you guys should check out his videos. I think I left off talking about because I think you said that her operations or her systems weren't intact, and that she might not have known or was following these, the revenue streams of each location.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure she was not, because that would just be kind of crazy not to follow the revenue streams.
I mean, I think you might got a surface level, but like I don't think you knew the detail. Like when, say for instance, you think you're making profit, but you still got to pay.
So like the costs and all that.
I think that caught up. You know what I mean? Because
and whoever her finance or her
that's why
her accountant was failed her miserably.
They failed her.
But I also think maybe they didn't, and then she knew, and then other locations weren't operating well, and instead of cutting her losses, she took the ones that were operating well and tried to cover the ones that weren't operating well. And every business, if you have multiple locations, I mean, one's going to do better than the other, one might not do well. I forgot who said this, but it was some successful CEO. He was like, don't try to take care of, if one business is failing, let it fail. Like, don't try to take this location and save this location, because it's a cancer and cancer spreads. So like, let it go before it spread through the whole company. So maybe she tried to hold on to some things to save face, because at this point now she's a celebrity, right?
Right.
And anything that happens looks bad on her, right? And I keep hearing my voice in the echo, sorry.
Yeah, I understand.
So anything that comes out in the media would look bad on her. It's not like she was a typical CEO that nobody really knew, like how many people can name, the CEO currently behind McDonald's? Huh?
No, I'm with you.
Oh, okay. How many people can name the CEO behind McDonald's right now, currently? How many people can name the CEO behind Nike right now? You don't really know who they are, do you?
Well, he's kind of popping right now.
What's his name?
Dang, I'll put it like this. I can describe him. He's the first
I say,
CEO.
who's the CEO of Slutty Vegan?
Pinky Cole, but I'm saying the guy.
You know it offhand.
I'm just saying the only reason I know about the guy from Nike, he got a very interesting story. He started off as an intern with Nike and ended up being the CEO.
But you follow businesses. I'm talking about an average person. Do they know who the CEO of Nike is right now?
Heck no.
Do you know who the CEO of Under Armour is right now?
Elliot Hill.
Did you just Google that? Yeah,
Did you see me Google it? There's nobody that can
I saw your eyes look over at something. It was definitely not.
Is there any witnesses that can witness?
Come on now. Come on. Let's be truthful on this live.
I knew it was bothering me though. It was bothering me. I'm sorry.
Anyways, look, he can't be wrong. He can't be wrong, guys. He can't be wrong.
No, but you're saying the right thing, because honestly, she took this the Steve Jobs method, right? Steve Jobs was exactly that. He knew how to make.
It took a while before people knew Steve Jobs. Like,
the internet wasn't what it was either. So
it definitely wasn't. So you can't really compare the two.
Okay, right. You can't really compare the two. Elon Musk is doing a heck of a job.
It's like LeBron and Michael.
Just like same thing. Same thing. So I'm just saying. So it depends on how you look at the situation. There's no wrong way to go about it, but I do think that you need to make sure that you find out your who's. You can't only be the only one thinking that you're steering the ship. You're steering the ship in a way that it's supposed to go. I use this analogy a lot, so you're gonna hear a lot of analogies from me. So one of my analogies I like to say: imagine you about to make some bread, right? And name some of the.
Talking about money or
no, like
bread.
real bread. Name some of the ingredients for some bread. You can tell she hood, yo.
Wheat.
All right, what else? Name all the ingredients for bread real quick.
Flour, gluten. I don't know.
Flour, water.
Butter,
oil.
All of that.
All of that, right? So imagine it takes all of that to make bread. In the sense of what Pinky was doing and what some of us entrepreneurs, what we do as well, we might really be a really pure flour, right?
Okay.
Like, do we the best flour possible? But you can't make bread with no flour by itself. You know the interesting thing about the ingredients of making bread? If you take one of those ingredients away from the bread, you know what you made? A mess. I don't like it. So at the end of the day, going back to the conversation of what we was talking about, I really think that's exactly what was going on. sometimes as an entrepreneur, now I'm talking to you as an entrepreneur. If you're listening to this right now, this is for you. You got to be able to figure out who you are in the recipe of making bread. Are you the water? Are you the butter? Are you the oil? Are you the flour? Because at the end of the day, you got to be able to identify the other people that needs to be around you to make the bread, because that's the overall goal, right? It's not to sit here and say that you won't make it to the oven. See, a lot of people they're scared to be able to get to that next step. You can make it to the oven as some flour, but what would it look like you put flour in the oven without water?
A
Nasty.
mess.
A
I
mess.
thought, I thought it was going back there. I was trying to follow
I
you.
was about to
Okay.
say that you beat me to the punch. But it'll look just like a mess. So at the end of the day, you got to be able to identify. So the first thing that she said that she did do, she said she dispersed off all of the C-suite people. And I think that's probably the right thing to do, because if I put my trust in you to be able to get the numbers and be able to communicate with me what I need to do in business, what I need to do on the next move, well, if you can't do that, ain't no point to have two things of flour when we ain't got no water or butter. So sometimes you got to be able to understand who you are. And I think as a lot of time as entrepreneurs, they don't go through that place of figuring out who they are until it's time for them to figure out who they are. And I think right now she had a good mirror moment, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the prettiest of them all? She had that
Talia,
moment.
Mrs.
She had that
Gaps.
moment to be able
I'm just
to
playing. I'm
sit
just
there
joking.
and look at who she is, because I don't think she had a clear understanding of who she is. But right now, oh,
I
I'm
think
guaranteed that she have a better understanding who she is and who
so.
she need to be, who need to have around.
So why do you think that she has a better understanding now? I
Because
mean, besides for this hit.
imagine, okay, Talia, imagine you went to an event, right? You went to an event and you was rushing all day. You had a lot of stuff going on and you forgot to brush your teeth. But you just didn't know because you can't smell your own breath sometimes. And then you go to an event and there's somebody whispering in your ear and be like, yo, I got some breath is humming. And you're like, oh, my breath stink? Tell me at that moment right there you wouldn't understand that your breath stank.
First of all, that would never happen to me. Ever, ever. Just letting you know.
I'm just, this is an analogy.
In all the years of my life, this has never happened to me. Jones, has this happened to you? Is this
No,
a real life story?
this haven't happened to me at all.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, it would be very embarrassing if a stranger came up to you and basically offered you gum because your breath was kicking.
It'd be real.
So you saying follow it? I'm trying to follow you here.
So right now, somebody told her that her breath is kicking.
Never ever. See, even business building resume, she's on my side. She said never ever, ever ever.
It was
So
an analogy, y'all. I'm
okay,
just saying. But at right now, somebody told her that her breath is humming,
okay, and not in a good way.
and not in a good way.
So
And guess what
you
they offered her? They offer her
some
some gum with
toothpaste.
it.
I
Some
mean,
toothpaste. In a business sense, they offered to take her business.
yeah.
She knows who she is now, and she knows she have a better understanding to know what water look like, and she
They
need to
come to
find that
clean up all the germs she created.
facts. She knows that.
Okay, I got
I'm,
to get off this analogy. It's killing me right now.
but
So,
it makes sense though. For
so
somebody out there, you know it makes sense though. It makes total sense.
okay, so this is not something that's uncommon though, right? Um, I do appreciate that she came out and spoke about it. Part of me feel like she really didn't have a choice but to speak about it. One, because her brand is her face, you know, like said in the interview that I guess buying her back, she didn't say it was easy, but buying it back wasn't too difficult because either way, Pinky Cole had to come with the business because she created it to where, like, when you think Slutty Vegan, you think her, you
Right.
know, vice versa. So, which is
He's
not
got.
a bad place to be. Like, it's like having like Ronald McDonald not being a part of McDonald's. Like, you know,
I mean, he
I
bought him.
mean, that's a big analogy, right? This big, but still, I mean, don't get it mistaken.
All the
You know,
Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas like,
any
Ronald
anybody,
McDonald.
anybody, and everybody can be replaced. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the Gucci story. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Really good movie if you haven't seen it. But it ended kind of messed up, and it could have ended that way for her. So luckily it didn't. Gucci built this huge brand, and now it belongs in the hands of a bunch of private equity people. You
Yep.
know, not one person in that family is getting a percentage of Gucci,
Right.
which is
Crazy.
sad. And how it played out was pretty rough.
Yep.
So if you look at a restructure and you want to know kind of what a restructure is, that's the perfect example because they didn't do their business correct and they acquired so much debt that they had to rely on somebody to pay it off. And
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody say, and we try to get away from the B word, but it just sounds like bankruptcy to me. It does. I mean,
But
I know she
bankruptcy
doesn't
comes
want
with
to
a
say
different rule.
it's different, but if you're trying to explain
Okay.
it to the average person,
Right.
it sounds like bankruptcy. I'm just being honest. Like
Let's
it's
look it up.
it's a business bankruptcy.
Oh, hold on. Hold on. Let me look.
What's going on?
I'm about to look it up.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go.
I'm curious to know the difference.
He's a dictionary guy.
Hey man, you know I gotta know. You know I gotta know.
You got an almanac in there too?
Haters. All right. So bankruptcy, a legal process where a business or a person declares they can't pay their debt. Chapter 7, liquidation, and Chapter 11, reorganization.
Sounds like a restructure.
A restructure. A restructure. A business voluntarily
Oh,
reorganized.
wait, you break it up. I can't. Come back. It's breaking up. Okay.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yep.
All right. A restructuring. A business voluntarily reorganizes its operation, debts, or structure to improve financial stability. So it didn't get to the point where legally.
So because it hasn't had the word legally in it, because you're going through
I quit before you fire me. Okay? That's what I.
whatever. That's still you still don't have a job. I don't care what you say.
She bought it back.
I don't care. It's out. Because it does not have the legal word in it. And it's because you're going through a investor of sense or a private equity person that you're not necessarily going through the lawyer and courts and all of that stuff. That's why it's not considered a bankruptcy. But I don't care. It's a bankruptcy. Like it's basically what it is. And like it's the same definition without the term legal.
Oh,
It's
here
the
go. It
same.
says here go a good analogy where it says bankruptcy is when your business is in ICU and the court becomes your doctor. Restructuring is when you hit the gym to get your business healthy before it collapses. So she called it in time before it absolutely collapsed.
Okay. Understood.
Yep.
And it still sounds like a
I
bankruptcy.
mean,
Okay. It basically you have too much debt and you need someone to help you
right.
because you did something wrong.
Yep. And
And
from
it's
what it
okay
sounds like, the
because
wrong
most
was
businesses go through some sort of restructure. At
right.
some point, especially like, like restaurants, their shelf life is what, 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years,
Like so many people
2 to 3 years.
don't, it's a scary business to be in, and it's very risky for a investor, right?
Yeah.
So you have to prove the fact that she got an investor to give her that amount of money for a mom and pop shop. For at that time, it was a mom and pop shop. And I'm gonna get back because I still feel like she ran every business like a mom and pop shop, and this is why we're here discussing it, right?
Yeah, but you know what? At the same time, those are the lessons to be learned, right? And I think it's good for other people to be able to see, because now, what does it look like to be able to run your business like a business? What does it look like to be able to take it from the mom and pop shop to make it to a franchise? What does that look like? What does that need
Well,
to
see,
take?
it wasn't franchised at that point, and maybe that's what she should have did.
Right.
But like I
Absolutely.
said, it was a mom and pop shop without mama being in there in every location. So, you know, um, I think from personal experience with our restaurant, like coming from the different backgrounds, we didn't come from a restaurant background. That's not where, Mr. Gabbs came from a music background, and I did music and sports and aviation, everything. So,
Right.
you know, um, but restauranting was not one of them. So when we got into it and it started taking off and booming because veganism was the wave, because timing was perfect, um, you start feeling yourself. You feel untouchable. And I feel like she felt untouchable for a while. She had a long run of feeling untouchable, but then your eyes aren't open to everything. Because at that time, when you're doing well and everybody's, oh, they're successful, so everybody's coming at you. You know, everybody's trying to sell you products.
Mhm.
Everybody, then you start accumulating more and more and more and more and more debt,
Yep.
because you're like, oh, I need that, and I
Profits
need
is not
that
really
too.
profit.
And I wanna be innovative. So I need that too. And
Right.
then all those subscriptions and all
Right.
those people taking out percentages of sales start adding up, and you like, okay, well, I'm making millions of dollars in revenue, but I'm also giving out millions of dollars in overhead and other small
Subscription.
costs. Them subscriptions add up. So um
If
those
you don't
are
get
the
nothing from
fine
this,
detail.
get away from subscriptions.
Get away from subscriptions.
Get
I got
away from
I got
subscriptions.
some subscriptions
Me
on
too.
my phone.
We need to purge. We need to
I
purge
do.
for sure.
Like that subscription thing. Look, if you have a business, create a subscription. If
Facts.
you're not a business, do not get a subscription.
Preach, preacher. But not.
It will blow your money.
But
But
not also real. That is, but let's take it back to the book, 0 to 1.
mm,
Another thing that Peter Thiel was talking about that I thought was awesome. Put yourself in a situation where you can have competition, right? Competition is good to have, because what it does, it allows you to be vulnerable, to know where you really are at. When you feel like you are the only person that's sitting at the table, you start to make those mistakes. You won't start to be lean, because lean, like, listen, work your business as lean as possible until you can't work it no more. Lean. And the only reason why that, because the time when you go through that 1 month that's not as great as the month before that, you're going to be wishing that you had subsidized the way that your income is coming in, or your saving, your little back piggy bank in the back, to make sure that it's holding up for that 1 month that's not coming in. So keeping it lean, because one of the biggest costs, and as you will know, Talia, and this is me working with other businesses that I've seen, one of the biggest costs is people. People are the biggest cost. And especially so
Yeah.
it's so if you're gonna pay for somebody, if you're gonna keep it lean, I suggest that you pay top dollar for the best person, so you don't have to pay for a lot of people that's average.
All right, let's talk about people and hiring and
Yep,
uh and all this I know firsthand, okay?
yep,
When you are this is another part of her problem, I feel like. Uh and when you're growing and you're anticipating growth, you start being like, okay, I need more people. Like, I don't want to get behind, and I got to compete with the people that are with the other restaurants out there because I got to pay more or not at least equal or more because I'm not as established of a brand as theirs to get people to work with me, or I gotta make it cool to work for me, right? I
yeah.
gotta, you have to figure out an angle for people because they're like in the restaurant industry. I mean, let's especially like ours, burgers and fries, and not cooked to order. We're not fast food, but it's cooked to order, but it's still burgers and fries, right? So you're gonna get younger people that need a job, summer job, or you're not gonna get somebody that is gonna make a lifestyle career out of this. Um, that's rare, but you offer things and you try to pull in those people and create avenues for them to make more money or to be able to eventually franchise your business to be able to stay on and say you can grow here, right? Um, but when you're growing, then you start trying to compete with these other restaurants, but you're not really making that other restaurant money.
Mm, mm.
But you got that number of employees. So now you're giving this person a salary, you paying this person this much an hour, this person, and you gotta like
That P&L sheet ain't looking good.
it becomes overwhelming. And then the turnaround of employees in this industry. So like they're dropping off like flies. Then you got to train somebody else just to drop off like flies. So that part's very difficult. And I know she probably spent a lot of money. And even locations like Columbus, they say it never opened. She probably or they probably tried to pre-hire because you don't sit there and build a whole building and get a whole business and don't have no employees to work it. You know what I'm saying? So now you're pre-anticipating something to be successful. And when they're not successful and then you go on for a year and it hasn't made money, that's a lot of debt. And she said it costs per location around $865,000. I don't know why she could have found a cheaper route, but $865,000 per location is outrageous.
That's right.
Um, and when she was given a $25 million investment, everybody's, oh, that's a lot of money. No, I mean, it is, but it's not when you're trying to make 16 restaurants. It's not a lot of money. So, you know, you got to think about like, okay, they want me to grow this fast. I gotta have this X amount of employees. I gotta, you know, get all this equipment. I gotta like it's and then different states they have their own laws and rules. So you gotta figure out that. Like, you know, she's born or whatever, raised in Maryland. So she might know, and then pretty much Atlanta. So you know those states. I feel like you could have grew regionally versus trying to like move so fast. I think the biggest thing was she moved too fast.
Yeah.
And she was trying to do too much. Like it unless you hired a CEO to take over a good CEO, and then you could go do what you want to do. But you can't be CEO and go do what you want to do. It's a job. You know, you still got to play your job, and being a CEO of a company is not easy. You can't be, you know, you can't be over there creating entrepreneurship platforms and try to give entrepreneurs a platform, which is fine. But like now you didn't spend all this. Well, I don't know if she spent it, maybe somebody else did, but the production of that and all of that money, like, because you're creative and you want to do creative stuff and more than just restauranting, because it's not an easy field of work. It's very, you know, you got to get in the trenches. You got to. It's just hard, you know. And sometimes it's tedious. It's long hours. It's not always rewarding.
No pats on the back.
You know, and like she said, like you do not see the blood, sweat, and tears you put into it. Yeah, and that's the bad thing about the social media age, is because they expect greatness all the time. And that's just not what it is. Like life isn't that way. I don't care if you got a 9 to 5 or you building a business. Life is not all peaches and cream. So when ish hit the fan, then they dogging you, you know, and it's not right. But that's the social media age we live in. So you kind of gotta ignore the dummies out there that never even built the business.
Yep.
So
we need to stop.
And then plus, like business building resume said she had 2 kids. I know, I got 2 kids too, and you got 3. So
she had 3.
Oh, she had 3 kids. Yeah, she had 3 kids. I forgot about that.
All back to back.
Yeah. Yeah. So like 3 kids. That
changes the dynamic. Like, especially when you didn't come into business with kids. When you started.
See, at this point, at being a CEO, you want to take a step back from being a mom, you need to really put somebody in place to make sure you. But, you know, when that's where advisors and stuff come into play.
I was just about to talk about that.
And somebody that really know what they're doing, and they'd be like, hey, this is.
Give some advice of what you would look for an advisor.
Well, I would have different advisors in all arenas, where like somebody that has had success in the restaurant field, that someone that's financially, like, knows the financial side, like every aspect of someone that's over operations and have ran a great operations in their company. I will use them as an advisor. Like, so I would try to have an advisor for all facets of the business, right? Yep. So if anything, like somebody can be like, hey, I know you want to sit back. I know you want to have it all. And nobody told you you can't have it all.
Right.
But you have to realize, and I try to stay away from this, but I have to say it. When it comes to Black business owners, we do not have the upper hand when it comes to that. We also don't have those people in place because a lot of times we are the first generation to make the success. So
Mm,
there's nobody to tell you how to do things. So there's nobody leading the way. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? So like in other, I don't know. I'm trying to be politically correct without saying it the
Oh, I
wrong
mean,
way. But you
talk
know,
to the
is
people right now.
you
'Cause
you don't have those people to guide you.
yeah,
And I know I went to college with people that was, fed a silver spoon or whatever, and they've been around people that be like, okay, this is how you should, step one, step two, step three. Don't forget to do this, don't forget to do that, don't ever let this happen. We don't have that.
facts.
So because we didn't have that, we have to take more faults and we have to take more stuff and figure it out. So like when we get successful, oh, you better give me a round of applause because I
Mhm.
definitely got this out of the bud, you
Yep.
know. So I think that's one big thing, but we're also the hardest race on each other, so
At
I don't
one
like
time, it's
that
over.
part. Huh?
Can't fail around our people.
No, you can't.
You
It's
can't even
like
be too successful around our people.
I be like, I go, somebody asks me for $5 on the street, and they be like, "Oh, you have a business? Well, you should do such and such and such and such." That just be pissing me off because I'm like,
Thank
I
you.
what have you done
Right.
to give
Right.
me advice? Like, but
Thank you.
whatever. I'm not gonna go too far, but yeah, I would. I think if she had like certain advisors and then not yes men behind her, they'll be like, okay, well, if you're gonna sit down and you're gonna have these babies, I need you to put somebody in place for the next couple of years to make sure this runs smoothly because I don't care. You go postpartum, you got to raise these kids.
Yeah.
And for the first couple of years of their life, they're demanding you and you're going to choose them because you're a mom, you know,
I
you're
see
the
that
mom.
vein. I see that vein in your
Yeah,
neck.
because you see that's real passion right there. So it's like that's the thing because you don't know
Help me.
how your body, how your mind is going to be affected. Like you're literally out of the game mentally for years.
Yeah.
You have to relearn. When you said she had to learn herself again, yes, she did because she went from this person that created a successful business, single, to married. For one, when you get into marriage, now you have to adapt to that other person, and then you have three kids. Now you got to adapt to these other three little people.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so no, and nothing's about you ever again.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to you have to find yourself. And even you spend years finding yourself. Some people never find themselves. Some people spend years in postpartum and you can't control that. So like an advisor could have told her, like, okay, we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know your mental state, you don't know health, anything. Like we need to make sure Slutty Vegan's taken care of. And
I
that
think you hit on some really, 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 really good points for sure. I mean, and I just want to say this. I hope the person that's listening to this,
help me. Help me.
I think the person that's listening to this right now, I really hope that y'all really taking something out of this. Um, as we're gonna wrap this up, I do want to get some quick takeaways, and I'll tell you some of my takeaways from this learning moment that we are speaking about with Pinky Cole. And once again, appreciate the vulnerability to allowing us to weigh in on our thoughts, but also having a learning moment for our audience and yeah, our Gavians and our vineyard goers. You know, really at this moment, really hoping that you take something. And I would say, have good relationships. I think the relationships is a significant part because even when she was talking about the time when she had to go sell a piece of her land, somebody was willing to sit here and go do it just like that, knowing the circumstance, and to be able to have good relationships where you can get 25 to be evaluated at once. So relationships are key. Another one, process, systems. I would say systems again. If you don't learn anything, system stands for save yourself some time, energy, and money. So I would say create good systems. And one of the last ones for sure, identify who you are. Identify and do all you can to figure out who you are because it's important to be able to figure out who you are so you can figure out who you need to get. Because as we went through the analogy with bread, and all the ingredients that it takes to make bread, if you take one of those ingredients out, you will have a mess. You got to be able to identify who you are because you are not the bread. You're either the oil, the flour, the butter, or the water.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be able to identify that. So those are my takeaways.
Okay. Well, I concur. But what I want to say is, I appreciate this talk. Thank you for having me. I'm sure we're gonna do plenty more. He's been on my butt about doing these videos, so
It
I
wasn't bad, right?
finally. It
Give her
wasn't.
a
It
round of
wasn't. It
applause,
wasn't
y'all.
bad. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But I I want to end it saying that I appreciate Pinky for setting the wave of vegan restauranting in Atlanta. And although, like, you might hear us be like, who got the better burger? At the same time, we on the same rim and it's enough out there for everybody. She's also my soror, so I'm rooting her on, and I'm happy that she got her business back. And we could still have that burger off though. We could do that.
Hard, hard.
But it's just friendly competition. But make sure you guys come out, eat with us. It's goodassburgers.com. Follow us on all social medias at Good Ass Burgers. My personal page is Press Play Jones, and I'm out of here.
For sure.
Good
And
night.
I want to make sure I drop mine. Make sure y'all go to Rolling with Jones on all social media platforms and go to Bing You to Go LLC on Instagram. You go to Bing You to Go on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever you need to go. But also make sure that you go to bingyoutogo.com if you're looking for that space to book for your next event, business to business, however you choose. Or you might be that business owner that's looking to be able to make some more money and get some more people in. Go to bingyoutogo.com.
Yes, yes.
I want to say thank you for being behind the business, and we are out of here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you to all the people that's on YouTube Live. We appreciate you, and shout out to Business Building Resume. If you need help with your resume or anything, trying to get a job, make sure you check her out.
Businessbuildingresume.com. Please go check it out.
All right.